Hello, welcome back to Estrella Spanish, a Spanish learning curriculum for all learning levels. My name is Ellie, and today we'll be taking a trip around the world, visiting all the countries where Spanish is the official language, as well as learning all of their capitals and their flags. So to start off, Spanish is the official language in 21 countries across 4 different continents: North America, South America, Europe, and Africa. Alright, so let's start off with North America and Central America. And make sure you keep an eye on the slides to see each country's flag as well. So let's start off with Mexico. The capital of Mexico is Ciudad de Mexico, which basically translates to the city of Mexico or Mexico City. And as a fun fact about the flag, the eagle on the flag actually comes from an Aztec legend about founding their capital, where they saw an eagle eating a snake on a cactus. So that's where that comes from. Next, moving on to Guatemala. Similarly, the capital there is also La Ciudad de Guatemala, or Guatemala City. And Guatemala's flag also features a bird, but it's a quetzal, and it symbolizes freedom, and it's also the country's national bird. Moving on to Honduras. The 5 stars that you see on Honduras's flag represent the 5 original members of the former Federal Republic of Central America. So now moving on to 4 more countries in North America and Central America, we have El Salvador, and the capital there is San Salvador. And the flag's blue and white colors actually symbolize the sky and peace, and the coat of arms that you see in the center includes 5 different volcanoes for the 5 different Central American countries. Next, we also have Nicaragua, and the capital there is Managua. And Nicaragua's flag also has 5 volcanoes, which again represents unity among the Central American nations. Next, we have Costa Rica, and the capital there is San Jose. And Costa Rica's flag has a red stripe in the middle, which represents the bloodshed for freedom. Again, they have blue for the sky, and white represents peace again. And finally, we have Panama, and the capital there is Ciudad de Panama. And you can see Panama's flag has 2 different colors, blue and red, and these represent the main 2 political parties there. And the stars basically stand for purity and the... Alright, so now let's head over to the Caribbean, starting off with Cuba, whose capital is La Habana. And the Cuban flag was actually designed in 1849 by some exiles in New York City, and its lone star symbolizes independence. Next, moving on to Puerto Rico, whose capital is San Juan. Puerto Rico's flag looks very, very similar to Cuba's, but its colors are reversed. And finally, we have the Dominican Republic, whose capital is Santo Domingo. And if you look at the coat of arms in the center, it's actually the only national flag with a Bible on it, if you can see in the more close-up version on the side. Okay, so now moving on to South America, starting off with Colombia, whose capital is Bogota. And Colombia's yellow, blue, and red flag actually inspired the flags of Ecuador and Venezuela, which you also see on this slide. Now moving on to Venezuela, its capital is Caracas, and you can see it has 8 stars in the middle, and each of them represents a province that supported independence. And finally, we have Ecuador, whose capital is Quito, and Ecuador's flag is almost identical to Colombia's, but it has a coat of arms in the center. Alright, so next we have Peru, and the capital there is Lima. And Peru's flag is red and white, and these colors are said to have been inspired by a specific type of flamingo that Jose de San Martin had seen, and he's the person who led the independence of Peru. Next, we have Bolivia, and it actually has 2 capitals, which are La Paz and Sucre, and the different colors on its flag stand for different things. So red stands for bravery, yellow stands for resources, and green stands for fertility. And finally, we have Paraguay, whose capital is Asunción. And fun fact, Paraguay, as you can see here, actually has 2 different sides of its flag. Each has a different design. On one, you can see is the national coat of arms, and then on the other one is the treasury seal. Alright, so this is the last side for South America. Here we have Chile, whose capital is Santiago, and the Chile flag is actually, you can see there's a 1 star in the middle, right? And that star is called La Estrella Solitaria, which translate to the lone star, and it symbolizes the unity of the nation. Now moving on to Argentina, whose capital is Buenos Aires. And the Argentina flag in the middle has a sun, and the sun in the flag is called the Sun of May, and it basically represents the Inca sun god and Argentina's independence. And finally, moving on to Uruguay, the capital there is Montevideo, and Uruguay's flag also features the Sun of May, and its 9 stripes represent the original departments of the country. Okay, so now let's cross the ocean over to Europe, where we have Spain, and its capital is Madrid. So as you can see, we have a coat of arms on the flag, and the coat of arms in the center is divided into 5 different parts, one on the top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, and then there's another small section in the center that's kind of like in a TP shape. And each of these sections basically represents a different historical kingdom of Spain. So we have Castile, Leon, Aragon, Navarre, and Granada. Also, if you notice, there's 2 pillars on the side. Each pillar has a crown on it, and these crowns symbolize the Holy Roman Emperor, as well as the King of Spain. And finally, there's one Spanish-speaking country in Africa, which is Guinea Equatorial, and the capital there is Malabo. And as you can see, the flag features a silk cotton tree under which the first treaty with Spain was signed. Wow, that's a lot of places. And even outside of these countries, Spanish is spoken widely around the world, especially in places like the United States, where it's the second most spoken language. And remember that despite all sharing the same beautiful language, every Spanish-speaking country has its own accent, slang, and cultural traditions. And this is why we think that learning Spanish is so valuable, because it can help you connect with millions of people around the world. So if you enjoyed this lesson, then please keep practicing and see how many of these capitals or flags you can recognize. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Estrella for more fun Spanish lessons. Hasta luego!